For this episode, just like when I go home to see my niece and nephew, you're gonna get spoiled. Twinema.
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 Twinema. Cinema. Twinema.
Cinema. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another installment in the saga that is Twinema Cinema. I, as always, am your host, or I should say co-host, Max.
And I am your other co-host, Joey.
Joey, I gotta tell you, I'm excited about this week. You know why?
Why?
We're putting the team back together.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like we're on a mission from God.
That'd be fantastic, but we're in the wrong franchise for that one. So you know.
What do you mean, franchise?
Well, there was... Oh, you're right. That sequel never happened. Thank you.
You're welcome. But speaking of things from the 80s...
Oh, you clever bastard. We're gonna have to get you on the team. But you know who else we need on the team? We need the getaway driver. The tech guy. The crazy one. The guy with all the plans. And, you know, seat fillers.
Also, we need the muscle. You can't forget about the muscle.
How did I forget the muscle? Oh.
That's why it's a team thing, Max. You got to build as a team.
We got to get them all back together because this week we have a frickin' triple threat match.
Triple threat match.
Oh, yeah.
Our three films for this episode are The A-Team, The Losers, and The Expendables.
It's a team, the fight to the death.
Triple V, baby.
Because they all have the.
These are, I've seen two of the three films. I've seen The Expendables and The A-Team, so I'm very much looking forward to comparing them with The Losers.
And I've seen all of these movies. However, it has been a better part of a decade since I've seen any of them, so I'm excited.
For me, I've only seen The Expendables the one time in theaters, whereas The A-Team, sometimes I'll just flip that one on, because boy, it's a lot of fun.
And then The Losers is the one you have not seen, correct?
Correctamundo.
All right. Well, it's an interesting comparison on this one because both The A-Team and The Losers are both based on previous materials, The Losers being a graphic novel adaptation, and The A-Team being based on the TV series of the same name. So that was kind of the basis for this episode at first, but then you brought up the fact that The Expendables also has a team.
And the fact that they all came out in the same year makes it pretty insane, because all of these movies, in some fashion, have a team of mercenaries.
One literally is an A-team of mercenaries.
Exactly. And they all have to come back together in order to accomplish, I'm assuming, their last mission or a final mission, or even, I guess, maybe, as kind of similar in the A-Team, a redemption mission.
Yes, because there's betrayals abound in several of these movies.
Betrayal!
Actually, no, literally, I think there's betrayal in all three of these movies.
Betrayals!
So that'll be fun.
Betrayal.
We'll add that to the column in the second half. But getting things started, what can you tell me about what you think The Losers is about?
What can you remember? Okay, so first off, I constantly confuse this movie with The Benchwarmers. So I assume that John Heder must make a cameo in this movie at some point.
Oh, no, he was a chicken last episode, so he wouldn't be in this one.
Oh, darn it. It's not like we have crossovers here. Okay, but if I'm being real, I feel like, why would they be called The Losers? So I think maybe it's something as in these guys are like the bottom of the barrel. Like, maybe they're the cheapest available mercenaries. They're not quite top of the line like the A-Team. This is more like the D-Team. But because A through C team all got wrecked on their previous missions, they needed to enlist the losers in order to take this thing to the top. I feel like from the trailers that there may be some kind of a heist involved. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it's a heist movie more than it is like an action movie. So they're going to get their team together with some kind of a leader guy. I feel like James Woods might be in this movie, but I might be wrong. But we're going to go ahead and assume it's James Woods for now. James Woods, Chris Evans, they're going to be our Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Ocean's 11 leaders of this gang. And since you said something about betrayal with an S. Betrayals.
Betrayal.
I'm going to assume that those two guys flip on each other at some point, and Chris Evans ends up on a beach with Charlize Theron after her dad died in the previous heist. No, that's the Italian Job.
Wait a minute. Where are you going with this?
The Losers ends up with Chris Evans on a beach having won. Yep, that's what happens. Boom, nailed it.
I know. I have a hard time remembering what the movie's about as well. All I know is that most of the team members, they're looking kind of dumb with their finger and their thumb in the shape of an L on their foreheads.
Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming.
No, whoa. We're going to get sued if we keep doing. We don't need Smash Mouth coming after us.
That's a fight. I don't want to get smashed in the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I can't remember that much of either the A-Team or the Expendables, to be honest.
Well, then you should combine them. Tell me what that crossover would look like.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you got Liam Neeson's and Sly Stallone's running into each other in a bar, and they say, hey, my team could take on your team. We'll be the B team. You can be the other guys. No. The other guys is a different movie altogether. We might cover that in a future episode. Okay, so, weirdly enough, Sly starts picking Bradley Cooper and, what was that? Rampage Jackson, I think?
Yep.
And then Liam Neeson goes after Jason Statham and Mickey Rourke, because, Mickey Rourke was actually popular in 2010. And they all get together, and they face off against other badasses from the 80s. And there also is a heist/revenge mission, and they have to clear their relatively good names, and they become begrudging friends that respect each other. And that's the movie.
Excellent. I'm into it. I'd see that movie. I mean, I would see a lot of movies, so that's not saying a whole lot, but it sounds fun. I am interested. You have sold me, sir.
All right, well, fantastic. And then, yeah, as far as, I don't know, it's interesting we're doing 3 of them at the same time, so we're going to have some weird criteria going into this. Kind of whittle down the elements that are all the same.
For sure. I think it's going to be fun because we've got, I'm not sure when The Losers, that graphic novel came out, but the A-Team came out in, the early 80s. Sylvester Stallone and a lot of the crew are from that same time period. So if The Losers is a graphic novel from the 80s, that would be a pretty fun thing just to see all of this stuff revamped 20, 30 years later.
I don't think it is, but we'll do some research because I guess we have to do that kind of thing.
Thank you guys so much. That doesn't make sense. That's like the episode's over.
No. They have to watch the episode and then the episode's over.
Yeah, that's how it works. So we'll be back after we watch these movies. So what's that going to be? Let me quick do a little bit of math.
God, it's not. It's longer than 4.5 hours.
6.5?
6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
For this week's films, The Expendables and The A-Team are both on Amazon Prime Video.
And The Losers is on HBO Max. How appropriate. We have a Max, the movie has a Max, and it's on HBO Max.
You know what's better than a good cup of coffee?
A free cup of coffee?
That's right. But what's even better is a metaphorical coffee. A cup of coffee that you, the fans, can gift to us, the podcasters.
And you can do just that at coffee.com/Twinema.
Think of it as a well-deserved pat on the back for hours of entertainment in inane babble we've given you. So visit coffee.com, ko-fi.com/Twinema. Thank you ahead of time. Cheers.
I'm warning you. I am a lethal killing machine.
The only thing you need to know is the job's real and the money's real. Give this job to my friend here. He loves playing in the jungle. Right? Right. It's his problem.
And we wired.
Target is westbound.
CIA.
You guys aren't exactly subtle.
NSA. Special Forces.
Hit it.
Who sent you? Your hairdresser. We're not them.
This court is rendering guilty verdicts for this Alpha Unit or A-Team.
You were set up. It's payback time.
I have the power to get revenge on the man that framed you.
What's the catch, lady?
It's pretty much a suicide mission.
That's not like foreboding at all.
It gets better.
You know that if we do this, we are waging a war against the Central Intelligence Agency.
We don't have the manpower, the firepower. We'd be dead in the water.
Great. They got a small army. What do we got? 4.5 men.
Not so funny.
Hey, losers! It's time.
Now. Yeah, really? Why not? Can you? Of course.
Are you crazy?
Kill them. Here we go.
They are the best, and they specialize in the ridiculous.
Are you sure you've done this before?
Okay, right now, not the time. What happened to you?
Got my ass kicked.
Want your life back? You're gonna have to steal it. What's that?
In a text.
Excuse me?
I love it when a plan comes together.
Hello and welcome back, listeners. Oh, we just went on a beautiful 8-hour journey. Wasn't it 8 hours, Joey?
I think a little shy of 8 hours, but if we're including breaks for dinner and bathroom breaks, 8 hours seems appropriate.
Oh, well, yeah, it just seemed like a long time because 3 movies is a lot.
And some of these movies are longer than I expected, which isn't a bad thing. I think just coming off of Surf's Up and Happy Feet, my brain forgot that there are movies that are 2+ hours long.
And that is a lost art. Or I should say the lost art of the under 2-hour movie. Almost none of these movies follow that particular rule, but the Losers kind of came closest.
I think A-Team is the longest, if I recall.
And then Expendables is somewhere in the middle, yeah.
Seems about right.
Man, that's one stat I forgot to look up, the body count. There's a crazy body count in these movies.
Oh, yeah, that's it. You know what? Let's take a brief recess and make sure we get that number. Hey, Stats Man.
Stats Man!
That's just what we call Max.
So, Joey, there was a whole lot of killing for these movies, although some of it was a little more, safe than others, but Losers and A-Team are PG-13, but Expendables, whoo! What was the kill count?
The kill count is literally off the charts for one of these movies. I don't think I've ever seen a body count this high for a movie, so I'm curious to look it up in scale compared to everything else for the future. But we'll start with our movies here. Coming in at number 3 is the A-Team with 43 kills. Number 2 is the Losers, up in the game a little bit with 65 kills. And then taking in our first place position is the Expendables with, you guessed it, somehow, 221 kills.
Oh, wow.
It's just, it's astronomical. I didn't recognize it in the moment while watching the movie with you this last time because, so much of it's just like background. It's like the setting of the Expendables is death. It's not portrayed as particularly important.
I guess they did, kill everyone on a dock and set them on fire. So
they killed a lot of people.
That tracks. But aside from, the ridiculous amounts of death, pretty fun.
Absolutely. I had a great time watching all 3 films to varying degrees, which we'll get into later, but all of them were overall enjoyable experiences. I think that's one of the things that really this type of genre of film really fits well with is, they're all kind of buddy films, right? It's more of an ensemble cast, so it's not your stereotypical buddy film, but it's in that kind of vein. And then they're all action movies. These action comedies with an ensemble cast are a lot of fun, and 2010 apparently was the year for it.
Yeah, they all came together, much like a plan.
Or a bukkake pornographic film.
Well, that's just messy, and I don't need that in my life right now, so...
Understandable, but
Thanks for that, Joseph!
But they all came together.
I prefer just to think about the Amy Poehler, Paul Rudd movie, but okay. They came together.
That's that's their movie?
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I'm, disappointed that I haven't, because Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, that sounds fun.
It's delightful.
Good. I'll have to check it out. Put it on the list. Ciao.
The list.
So moving past the delightful Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, let's get back into these movies. Starting it off, as usual, we've got to hit our similarities. There are a pretty large number of them, but not all movies share all of these similarities. If that makes sense, hopefully you guys can follow that with us.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, starting right at the top with the big ol' obvious one, all these movies have super special soldiers / black ops teams.
They all are soldiers of fortune at some point in the movie. They're all working outside of the boundaries of the law in order to try and help the world.
And they have to do that half the time because they've been assumed killed and they cannot do it through normal channels. So they got to go outside the law.
It's strange that that plot point is in multiple movies, but you know what? It works. When you're dealing with large explosions, it's easy to assume people have been killed.
And then they all take their time introducing all these super special soldier teams as well, because all three of these movies have prologues that set up everybody.
Well, you need a good prologue, all right? It is a cornerstone of horror films and action films. You got to give people a taste of what we're in for so that we can have a little bit of downtime while we build back up to another action sequence.
Well, that and we just have to show how awesome these people are.
If we don't see their skills showcased, what skills do they really have?
They got skills that kills, Joey.
Lots. Kills lots.
And they use many a vehicle to do it, too. Like, all three of these movies have motorcycles or motorcycle chases.
I really laughed out loud when the motorcycle appeared in The Losers, because it is a much later appearance of the motorcycle, and I just didn't see it coming. But they were just like, here you go, guys. We need a motorcycle in this movie. Have at it. And it was beautiful.
And we also have giant seaplanes in a couple of these movies. We also have the theft of multiple aircraft.
Specifically, helicopters in a couple of these movies get stolen. But you know, when you are operating outside of the law, you don't want to be tracked. So you've got to have stolen aircrafts. This was like, there were a couple moments where I would have been so excited if Baloo would have shown up and it was just like a tailspin live action comedy.
And then we got rogue generals. In fact, two of these movies begin with the assassination of military personnel. And yeah, pretty much we got army guys just being bad.
As it turns out, there's not as much loyalty in these versions of the military as you would hope for. It's very
worrisome or disheartening.
It's definitely disheartening to see these people. They've worked together, they've fought together for years, just turning on each other. But that is a huge point that needs to be made. These movies have plenty of betrayal.
Betrayal.
Yes, oh, so much betrayal. And then payback later, but more importantly, betrayal. I mean, Expendables, you got Dolph Lundgren.
Betrayal.
In A-Team, you got the Rogue General.
Betrayal.
And then you got the Black Ops team as well in A-Team.
Betrayal.
And then in The Losers, you've got Idris Elba.
Betrayal.
The whole thing is kicked off by a guy just coincidentally named Max.
Betrayal.
And then also, you've got a Zoe Saldana.
Betrayal.
Yes, last minute.
Betrayal.
On that one.
Much like the beloved Furious 8 Jason Statham vehicle film, we have people who commit these horrible betrayals coming back and being accepted into the family.
Corona goes a long way, Joey. Kind of working its way into the whole betrayal theme, we have a rival badass among almost all these movies as well. Holt McNally in The Losers. We got, Brian Bloom's Black Ops character in the A-Team.
And in the Expendables, we've got the great Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And then kind of Dolph as well on that one. But yeah, there's a lot of muscle to go around in that one.
Nah, they're not flexing.
And we got, to rival most of these beefheads, we got smarmy, kind of racist, white dudes as the bad guys. You got Eric Roberts in Expendables. You got Jason Patrick in The Losers. And you got Patrick Wilson and a little cameo by John Hamm in the A-Team.
And to go along with these surprisingly handsome, in the case of The Losers, cast of characters, they need to have their love interests.
Yes, of course. Jessica Biel in the A-Team is Bradley Cooper's love interest. We also have Zoe Saldana as Jeffrey Dean Morgan's love interest in The Losers. In Expendables, we got Charisma Carpenter as Jason Statham's love interest.
So much love to go around. And, you gotta just put that into these action movies because you need to really ground these folks. And they do a good job in some of them. Other ones, it's just backstory. The female characters are not really super relevant except in context of how it shows the shape and character of our male protagonists.
Which is kind of the case in The Losers, but also Zoe Saldana has a much better character in that movie, too. And then rapid fire, as, there's lots of bullets flying in these movies. We got asset extraction from tall buildings in several of these movies. We got action scenes involving shipping containers. In fact, both The Losers and the A-Team end in the port of Los Angeles, which is just a crazy coincidence.
Oh, what? We're filming in LA? What's a great location? Maybe we should write this into the movie.
There had to be some kind of deal going on, or everyone was just gone for the weekend, so they just filmed back-to-back there.
I feel like the other thing is they ran out of budget gallivanting across the globe, and they're like, oh, fuck, what's the cheapest place we could shoot?
Because they did gallivant across the globe. Almost all of these movies filmed in the locations they say they are at.
Wait, there's a location in the Expendables? What's the name of that country, Max?
Viana? I think it was Via. It started with a V.
Good enough.
But yeah, they filmed, well, okay, fine, yeah, but they filmed in Brazil and Puerto Rico for those.
So they filmed on location, just not in this fictional country. Who would have thought? They don't have the budget of Marvel. They can't be shooting in Wakanda.
I mean, Losers filmed in Dubai and Mumbai and Port of Los Angeles. And A-Team was in Germany and a couple other countries as well. So yeah, they used that moolah to get around.
You got to just end this section on the obvious thing. When you're talking about a team-up movie, you can't forget to talk about the team and the team members themselves. Each of these films has an established, obvious leader of the pack. Sylvester Stallone in The Expendables, Jeffrey Dean Morgan in The Losers, and Liam Neeson in The A-Team.
The Liam Neesons, though. We also have the driver, or the pilot. You have Sharlto Copley. Amazing performance, by the way, in The A-Team. You have Columbus Short as Pooch in The Losers. And you also have Jason Statham as Lee Christmas in The Expendables.
In The Expendables, I'm actually confused because, both Sly Stallone and Jason Statham kind of do the driving sequences in those movies. Maybe even more Stallone. He's taking on a lot. He's the leader of the pack. He's the driver. He's the number one gun. He's also the pilot. He's also directing the movie. He also co-wrote the movie. He's also starring in the... It's a lot of work that Stallone is putting in to make The Expendables happen.
I mean, there's a lot of crossover with job titles over the course of the movie, but just to rattle them off, we can name some of the characters as well, but we have the wild card, or the Joker. We have the muscle. We have the plan guy. We have the token black guy, possibly, and we have Mr. Knife Guy. Mr. Knife Guy is one of my favorites in these movies. You have Idris Elba in The Losers as Mr. Knife Guy. You have, Lee Christmas and Terry Crews kind of both do knives in The Expendables. And, who's the knife guy in A-Team? There has to be a knife guy, right?
Let me think real quick. I don't think there is. Unfortunately, there is no knife guy in the A-Team. But you know what we do have in the A-Team? We've got the face. Because you need a handsome guy to distract all of the other people in the movie. And you know who crushes that role? Bradley Cooper.
Yes, he absolutely crushes it. And he becomes the plan guy later in the movie.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, is the movies do evolve because Liam Neeson's kind of getting a little older, so he needs some help. His brain is slowing down a little bit, so he needs that...
It's all those cigars.
The cigars are what's doing it to him. Definitely not the poison that he took.
Or it could be, like Stallone, and it's just the roids catching up with him.
Oof. Hey, I don't think he's ever admitted to using steroids, but you know what he has admitted to? Human growth hormone.
It's kind of on the same category. But he tries to hide his age with a sweet Tony Stark beard.
Yeah, man. Apparently, they were so inspired by 2008's Iron Man that they're like, you know how we're going to make more money with this movie? Goatees.
It's even better because Mickey Rourke was simultaneously filming The Expendables and Iron Man 2.
I completely forgot that he's in that. And you know what? That's what happens. You just fall into the roles when you've got that Mickey Rourke talent.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I was reading some reviews who said that Mickey Rourke was the highlight of the movie because he was the only one actually acting.
I think it's time to go into a little bit of differences now. And I think that's one thing right off the bat that I want to go into is the caliber of the performances in these movies is kind of all over the place. The Expendables is easily the least well acted of these movies. Mickey Rourke is only in under 10 minutes of screen time, I believe. He's not a main character, he's a side character, but he acts circles around these guys, and it's just kind of disappointing. The Expendables is basically Sylvester Stallone's version of Adam Sandler's Grown Ups. He's like, I just want to get all of my friends together, and I want to make this movie. They need some help. Take my clout. Give them some roles. Let's make this happen.
You know what year Grown Ups came out?
Is it 2010?
Yes.
You know what? Maybe
it's the team up here.
Maybe Sylvester Stallone and Adam Sandler are like low-key best friends and they were just talking about it. Yeah, man.
Oh my God.
I'm planning this movie where I get all of the crew back together and we go and we're hanging out on location filming this movie. And he's like, that sounds like fun. You know, Puerto Rico's nice this time of year.
Which, side note, everyone, find the script for Grown Ups 3. It's going to knock your socks off.
Knocking them straight off, baby.
Mickey Rourke pretty much just exists to bring a little pathos to the movie, and he acts circles around everyone. I'd say, like, I don't know if I'd call Charlton Copley's performance, like, acting, but he just has charisma, damn it.
I think, it's really a toss-up between the Losers and the A-Team on which film has better performances. I think because of the way that certain scenes are directed and shot, the A-Team feels like it has better performances, but there are some great performances in The Losers. Specifically, my favorite performance in that movie is Idris Elba. That man, he's just crushing it.
Mm-hmm. And I think you get a little more of that feeling in A-Team as well, because they use an actual musical score most of the time, where you got Expendables and The Losers trying to keep the energy up by using a ton of needle drops. They got popular music all over those things.
It's not particularly effective. I think that's one of the things. It's like, I want it to work, but it really doesn't hit home the way it needs to. In The Losers, it kind of feels more like, especially in the intro where they use it the most, although it kind of starts to wane as the movie goes on. But in the first 15 minutes, there's a couple, and it feels much more like a TV show than it feels like a movie. Now, would I see The Losers TV show produced by the same creators of The Boys on Amazon? Yes, especially if they brought this same cast back, because they are a lot of fun.
Which is weird because A-Team is actually based on a TV show. Losers is based on a graphic novel series, and it feels like it, especially just the opening moments. You see the logo, it's like, oh, this is a comic book movie.
The A-Team is based on a TV series, but I think that's partially why they deviate so much from that kind of structure, that kind of lighting and everything. They're like, you know what? We want to take the A-Team's TV show and make it a movie. We want to make it bigger. We want to make it more cinematic. We really want to take this to the next level. And then the Expendables, it's more of a
comeback showcase.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. It's like a rehash of a lot of things, and there are elements that work really well in it, and there's others that really just fall flat because it doesn't feel original or interesting at all, which is so disappointing because some of these actors in The Expendables are in some of the best action movies ever made. So it's just like, God, when you throw everything against the wall, I guess you're gonna not make a masterpiece.
They hadn't been, with the exception of maybe Terry Crews or Jason Statham, because they're actually, young-ish.
Young-ish is a good way to put that.
Successful classic action movie in a decade or so.
It has been quite a while for most of them since they were firing on all cylinders, which I think is why they had to do this movie in some ways. Is like, all right, we need to cash in on this. We need to bring this back.
While they still got it.
So some other major differences in the movies themselves are the amount of attention paid to like supporting characters. I think that's a big difference, is that in the A-Team and the Losers, our villains definitely have a lot more of a persona to them, and we spend a lot more time with them. In the Expendables, yeah, we get it a little bit, but it's more or less done just to progress the plot. It doesn't really make those characters any more interesting. They're very flat, one-dimensional, where in the Losers and in the A-Team, some of these villains actually get quite elevated. One of my favorite characters in the A-Team is actually the guy who works for Black Forest. You know, definitely not Blackwater, but Black Forest. And he's just such a stone-cold bastard. And you don't usually see that in an effective way in a lot of action movies, where this guy, I think one of the best comparisons, although the guy in the A-Team is way more comedic, but Gary Busey in Lethal Weapon. I think you have a military-minded villain who is very straightforward and to the point and doesn't actually fuck around. And I like that. I like that this guy is just like, this is how you do it. Don't be stupid.
Well, yeah, and they actually show him to be proficient even against the CIA people, which is just hilarious. And it's even better because that guy is one of the writers.
Really? He's one of the writers of the A-Team?
He wrote the movie with Joe Carnahan, the director for the A-Team.
Man, so he crushed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a weird performance. It's like, you wrote your own lines, and you can tell.
He delivers them with gusto. One of my favorites is he questions one of the characters who's doing a terrible job of putting his silencer on the gun, his suppressor, and he's just like, please, don't let this guy kill me. Perfect delivery of the line. He says it almost straight to camera. It's excellent.
But he's saying it to Patrick Wilson, who is just the douchiest CIA guy ever. He's like watching this footage of a airstrike, and he's like, oh man, it looks just like Call of Duty, and he's wearing a polo with body armor. It's just despicable, and it was delicious to watch.
And I think, you know, that kind of just goes back to what I was saying, is the care that they are given to these secondary and tertiary characters in the A-Team really does stand out. And they do a great job of doing that in the Losers as well. I like the performance of Max a lot. I think he is just, he's another character that his villainy is so very much on display. And even in the end of the movie, spoiler alert guys, you guys already know this, but he is somewhat vanquished. He's not down and out completely, but he's definitely down. And in this moment, he's on the bus and he calls them to say that he got away. And he's there in this really fancy suit, wearing obviously some nice clothes. And these two very large gentlemen come up to him and rob him right in front of the camera. He's just like, hey, that's a nice watch you got there. And the dejected look on his face. His performance is great. And there's a lot of subtle things that they do. There's the sequence where you find out what his hand looks like under the glove. Like, you think he's just been wearing this glove because he thinks it looks cool, but it's actually very low-key stated that his hand is fucked up. And I like that they never called attention to that. Like, that kind of detail in the storytelling, I think, works really well. It's a background piece. We don't need it to be front and center, but when he's wearing those gloves, you definitely notice.
There's some cool background character work in Losers as well. I mean, my favorite is Jensen, played by Chris Evans, who was having a killer year before he was Captain America. He had just done Scott Pilgrim as well, but his just professed love for his niece's soccer team through the entire movie just made me giggle.
They really do flesh out these characters really well in The Losers. I really appreciate that. His character is very fun. Pooch's character is very fun, just finding out about his wife and his family. They do a really good job of introducing it as well, because the main characters spend so much time together that there's just these elements of storytelling like amongst themselves that just flows very naturally. Obviously, there's one scene that's pretty forced where they do the satellite hacking to see what his wife looks like. Even that scene still plays well because the performances are done so well. I do appreciate that in The Losers, though, they really do a good job of making Chris Evans as unattractive as they can. At least that's what I feel like the goal was. They're like, all right, we're going to make this guy just not look good. And it works. And his performance works. I love his awkwardness when he's trying to hit on Zoe Saldana's character. It's just, there's so many great moments where he just fails. He falls completely flat on his face, and that humor works so well. And in The Expendables, we see some of that. We see them trying to make these jokes and make these elements fit. I think the only time that really works for me is when we're getting the character development with Terry Crews partway through the movie, kind of like in the last half an hour where we really get to see him a little more. I think he's the character that is least effectively used in The Expendables. Every moment he's on screen, he's great. He needed more moments on screen. But at the time, kind of like the smallest name in terms of action stars.
Yes, his previous credit that was of note was as Cheeseburger Eddie in the Longest Yard remake with Adam Sandler.
I fucking forgot he was Cheeseburger Eddie.
Although briefly, I do want to comment on A-Team and Losers in particular, because the dynamic between the teams is a major difference in that in the Losers, they are always together. At no point are they ever separated. They are together, they are family throughout the entire movie. A good portion of the A-Team is dedicated to them getting back together. 2 times we show them getting back together.
That's a good point.
It does kind of kill the camaraderie a bit, but I think that's actually part of the arcs of some of the characters as well, so it kind of works in their favor.
Yeah, I think structurally that it really does work, but that's a very good point. That's a good difference. In the Expendables, that's also another thing that has in common with the Losers, is that they do spend most of the time together. Specifically like Lee Christmas, Jason Statham's character, and do we even know Sylvester Stallone's character name?
It's Barney Ross, but I was going to comment, only Jason Statham's character really gets any mainland story, you know? Like, we don't know what the hell's going on with Sly Stallone, but we know what's happening with Christmas.
He's the only one who has, like, his own backstory that we know about.
Aside from Mickey Rourke's monologue.
Yeah. It's so strange that Mickey Rourke's the only person with a monologue in the movie.
And then briefly, before we head into the next segment, I did want to comment upon the Losers in particular, in that there's at least 3 cast members that would later appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it's interesting because none of the characters they portray, would be Heimdall by Idris Elba, Captain America by Chris Evans, and Gamora by Zoe Saldana, none of those characters have ever met each other.
Are you sure none of them have met each other?
In the movies, they never meet.
I'm curious now. Let me think. I think you're right. You're right, at least thus far. Which, hopefully happens at some
Idris
point.
is dead, so...
He's not dead.
Okay, Heimdall is dead.
Yeah,
and
that's
that would have been
correct.
the only time he would have met Gamora. Gamora died, came back, never battled with Captain America on the field.
You know, I think I just want to make a quick mention here of one similarity amongst these movies, and then also I just need to let everyone know that, yes, we've spoken a little bit less about The Expendables than the other 2 films, but that's partially because we did do a live stream, which you can all check out, of The Expendables if you want. We'll have a link to that in the episode description. But the last similarity that I want to just say, because I completely forgot about it, all of these movies start with the.
Yes, I forgot about that. And in fact, that's the episode title too. It's just the, and then Losers, Expendables, A-Team in brackets.
It's just like, I've been saying it so much because I can't say Losers. I have to say the Losers, because Losers just, it doesn't quite come off the tongue right. Expendables, yeah, that one's a little easier, but A-Team, no, it's the A-Team. So I've been saying it a lot. I had to bring attention to it. So I think this is a good time for us to jump into our next section, as Max said, and find out how much these movies made with
History, Facts, and Box Office! And that kind of gives us a good opportunity as well to talk a little more about The Expendables, as, oh boy, did it make so much more money!
I didn't know that, but at the same time, I definitely knew that.
Yes, it had an $80 million budget, so modest for a blockbuster, but domestically it made $103 million, $171 million overseas for $274 million total worldwide.
Man, that's like $1.25 million for every person killed in this movie.
And not a cent went to their families. And then moving on down the list, because weirdly enough, I watched these in box office gross order.
Oh, nice.
So the A-Team, budget of $110 million.
Okay.
Only grossed $77 million domestically, $100 million overseas, for about $177 million total.
Oh,
So
disappointing.
this pretty much almost did not make its money back.
Yeah, it's right on that border depending on where all of the budget went.
Well, also, if you say, the marketing goes into the budget too, which is just, the left hand paying the right hand as far as the studio system is concerned.
Exactly.
And then kind of the independent movie as far as the rest of these are concerned, The Losers had a budget of $25 million, made $23.5 domestically, only 5.8 internationally, so just under $30 million worldwide.
That doesn't surprise me at all. We forgot to do our section where you make me guess the budgets of these movies, but it is obvious that The Losers has the smallest budget, but I wouldn't have guessed that the A-Team has a higher budget than the Expendables only because of the cast.
The sheer amount of visual effects in it made me think, oh yeah, this was an expensive movie.
Oh yeah, the A-Team's gonna be costly, but I just thought because of the cast alone that it would have been more expensive. But then you think about it, it's like really the only super big name for that movie is Sylvester Stallone, and then you've got Jason Statham after that. Everyone else, it is kind of past their prime, and I'm sure there was some kind of a deal with Arnold and Bruce Willis that was either extravagant for the amount of screen time that they got, or they just did it super low budget as a favor to their buddy Stallone.
I think that might have been the case, but also just looking at some of the visual effects in the Expendables, yeah, they didn't spend a lot of money there.
It's very uneven. There are some very good effects, and there are some good practical effects, and then there's a bunch of trash. Like some of the effects in the movie, some of the blood effects, some of the fire effects, they just don't look good. They didn't look good when I saw it in theaters, and they don't look any better now that I saw it at home on high definition.
And financially, it's kind of where most of the differences lie in these movies, because critically, they're all hovering about the same place.
Okay, I'm going to just take a swing here and say if they're all hovering at about the same, on Rotten Tomatoes, we're going to go with like a 61%.
For which one?
For all of them critically, that's where I'm assuming they are. Somewhere right there.
Joey, you and your good heart, you're thinking way too well of these movies.
Darn it. What do we got? What does Rotten Tomatoes have to say?
All right, Expendables on Rotten Tomatoes, 42%, 64 audience. A-Team, Rotten Tomatoes, 49%, 66 audience. And The Losers on Rotten Tomatoes, 49%, audience, 54.
Crazy.
So they are all under 50%, but above 40, critically anyway.
Okay, gotcha. So The Losers had the lowest audience score by like 10% though.
Yes, but all of the audience scores are at least several digits higher than their critical score. So audiences like these movies better than the critics did.
Gotcha. Which checks out. Generally, it's the way it goes with a lot of comedies and a lot of action movies. But this is significant because I think like the A-Team, it sounds like it was a 20% jump.
Yeah, the A-Team was a lot more popular, which is sad because no one went to see it.
I guess it was just me in that theater, but I was having a great fucking time.
I know me and Cousin Andrew went to see it, so that was fun. He wouldn't stop talking about penguins, though.
Is there any interesting story between like how these films came to be? Because they all came out at about the same time, which probably saturated the market a little bit, making it less likely to want to see the others. But I'm curious because they're very similar, but they're also completely different in other ways. Just even the promotion of them is dramatically different.
Or lack thereof, because The Losers had a late April release date, which wasn't as big 10 years ago as it is now, because, summer starts at the end of April. Apparently. But yeah, I'm guessing, especially with that international gross of only $5 million, they didn't promote it at all overseas.
And it's all because nowadays, 10 years later, April's a lot hotter due to climate change. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I wanted
Thanks,
to make
Mr.
that
Smiley.
I wanted to put that joke in there. Okay, cool. But moving on.
Most of these movies came into being around the same time, almost pure coincidence. Obviously, since it's based off a show from the 80s, A-Team has been trying to gestate over the course of the last 30 years through various drafts. Expendables, there was a draft written by a guy who didn't even want all of the 80s heroes in it. It was like 2005, and then Sly took over from there. And then The Losers was based off a comic published in 2003, and then it was started to be developed in 2007. So, again, with Hollywood, it's more of a weird coincidence thing on this one. There wasn't as many conflicting interests. Most of them all filmed in the summer of 2009 as well, although since none of them filmed in the same location, there was no conflicts.
With the exception of the port of Los Angeles.
Yes, this is very true. So they must have missed each other just by a few months on that one, depending on when they filmed what first. But yeah, relatively uninteresting there. It's just a coincidence. And all had different release dates as well, so they didn't really conflict with each other. As I mentioned, April release for The Losers, you had a June release for the A-Team, and an August release for The Expendables.
So The Expendables was actually the last one released, and it made the most money.
Correct. So you might just have fatigue there as far as the box office is concerned. But I guess there was a little more hunger for 80s action heroes than younger action heroes at the time.
That's usually not the way it goes for most of these twin movies that we've been covering, is usually it's the first film that makes more money at the box office. So the fact that the last film of 3 films, but like you said, the star power, the promotion behind it, it all kind of fits, it makes sense. But it's also really funny because basically we're taking, with the A-Team and the Expendables, we're taking 80s movies and just moving them to 2010. It's like the exact same thing. It's like you could have made that movie back then or now, and it wouldn't have made any difference except for the use of cell phones.
Basically, yeah. So it was nostalgia before nostalgia, I guess. They just updated a little bit. But I also did want to note, especially for the case of the Expendables, the reason it's probably late summer is because there was an extensive editing process because the producer wanted to go through 2 different versions of the movie, one PG-13 and one rated R, because apparently they were also involved with Die Hard 4, and that was PG-13, and that made a lot of money. So they wanted to say, hey, we don't want to, cut our audience in half, much like Steve Austin in that movie.
Man, that's such a bad decision, though. And I really wish they would have leaned in from the beginning of just going with an R. Obviously, the way they shot a lot of these sequences, that was part of the plan. But I'm curious, like we discussed during the live stream, if a lot of these blood effects were added after the fact when they weren't shot live, because they wanted to make sure they had that option in post. But I just think it was a bad decision. I think it waters down the Expendables because, we could have more cursing. We could have had more actual practical effects on set like we did in the 80s films that we fell in love with these actors during. And that's a really disappointing thing, which is also strange because it's the only R-rated film of the 3. We've proved it with Deadpool. We've proved it with other films as well, such as The Passion of the Christ. That R-rated films can make a lot of money. But it makes me sad that they had to do that, and I think it really does hurt the movie.
It does, and I've seen plenty of movies where they did add all the gunshots and blood in digitally, but that was their intent from the beginning to be rated R, so intent is everything. Half-assing it during production did not help them at all.
A similar thing is any of these post-conversions to a 3D film. It's like, you can just tell which movies were shot intentionally to be in 3D and which ones were not. Much like this, if they change their way midstream, you can tell where the problems are.
All right, Joey, we've come to the end of another episode, so I think we need to find out.
Winner, winner, who's the winner?
I think we're kind of aligned on this one. We're locking eyes. I think we have similar lists in our head. So go ahead and rank those movies for me.
As with all ranked lists, they should start with the last thing on the list. If you're going to make a ranked list, why would you tell me the thing that's number 1 first? It's stupid. People who do this are stupid. You're stupid. Anyhow, with number 3, my third favorite of the films that we covered this week, it's The Expendables. I really wish that I liked it more, but Having rewatched it again with the live stream, having seen it in theaters, there's good moments to it, but overall, it's just a disappointing movie to watch. The Expendables 2, much better. The first Expendables, no, it's not particularly good. But luckily, it got the sequel, which is an improvement. Number 2, coming in at number 2, it's The Losers. The Losers was quite fun. It's the first time I'd seen the movie. I did not expect it to be quite as enjoyable as it is, but the cast has a lot of great one-liners. There's a lot of great jokes. The story is quite enjoyable, and there's some really good twists in there. I mean, I kind of called all of the twists, but the way they unfolded was a lot more unexpected, and it really pleased me, and I was happy about that. And then coming in at number 1 is The A-Team. It is the superior movie in every capacity. The action sequences are better, the performances are better, the cinematography's better, the writing's better. I think the only thing that The A-Team flounders on is the special effects for the final sequence are pretty damn disappointing. I remember in the theater being like, this was almost the ending I wanted. I kind of feel like they should have done what Deadpool did, realized they didn't have enough budget to pull this off, and so they just scaled down the end sequence a little bit. Because some of the explosions with all of the containers just flying everywhere and the boat, the action and the performances and the story elevate. It really is a good climax, if only the visual effects matched it. That's like my only problem with that movie.
I knew we were twins because my ranking is the exact same thing.
Awesome.
Expendables is number 3. I agree with you there. It's entertaining. The concept is fun, and it got way better in 2, maybe not 3, but as soon as you take Sly Stallone out of the director's chair, it got way better. Plus, Jean-Claude Van Damme, fantastic villain.
Yeah, we cannot deny how good Jean-Claude Van Damme is in that sequel. Plus, Chuck Norris shows up.
He does, but I mean, I was just talking about Jean-Claude kick-knifing the youngest Hemsworth to death.
It was pretty cool.
And then now The Losers, number 2. Like Joey said, some fantastic one-liners, although I'm going to disagree with him on thinking A-Team's cinematography is better, as what I like about The Losers is there's actual color. Like, it's almost the same color palette for the A-Team, which is number 1 and is the best movie all around, but for different reasons in my mind. It's the best movie because all the characters have arcs. It is a better written movie in that respect. The people in The Losers are more fun to listen to and to watch because they have a different type of camaraderie. They have excellent banter with their teammates, but they don't have as much chemistry. And that's what kind of ties the whole A-Team together. I mean, the only person who really doesn't get a sweet character arc is Murdoch, Sharlto Copley, but he's still the most fun to watch, so it kind of evens out.
He's just a fun character in the movie, and I think like he's part of what brings about some of the change for the others. It's just like you do need. It's a weird thing to say, but I'm gonna say this. He's kind of the straight man for the movie. Now, what I mean by that, he's a goofball, and he is the wacky character. However, he is like the emotional straight man. He doesn't have much of a change because he knows who he is. He just is who he is, and everyone else can you can judge their character changes based on that. His interactions with the others, and he watches it. He sees it. He's kind of almost like a third-person narrator type character, although he's just fun. Some of the shit that he does in that movie. I forgot about the sequence where he just breaks into an English accent and knights a guy. Like, that's an amazing moment. And so simple. Like, it has nothing to do with the story. And I think that's where some of the best things in the A-Team occur, is it's these individual extra moments that they just use to build the character. He's got another one, too, where he's using a puppet. That puppet moment. Would you like some pork? It's perfect. It's a perfect joke.
Well, I thought that was a joke at B.A. Baracus's expense, played by Quentin Rampage Jackson, by the way. I thought he was Muslim. and he wasn't allowed to eat pork. I thought that was the joke, but maybe I missed it.
Just like the way that whole sequence unfolds, the way I loved it. It's a beautiful interaction amongst friends. And I just want to go out here and say this because I was talking to my roommate earlier, and I was saying that one of the downsides of the A-Team was Quentin Rampage Jackson's performance. But I am going to backtrack that. He's great in this movie. I think I just remembered that his performance wasn't quite as good as the others, but when I think about it in hindsight now, after having watched the movie again, his performance is great. It just so happens to be that he's going up against some really great actors in great fun roles. So the fact that he's even on the same page as them is impressive, and he holds his own very well, and the jokes at his expense are fun, but yet they never seem too hurtful. So it's I like that. Like, they're making fun of him. He's getting a lot of shit thrown at him, but it never takes it too far because they're always still worried about his well-being.
And then, yeah, Bradley Cooper, another Marvel guy, by the way, we're tying that all together, grows tremendously in the movie. He learns to plan ahead, and Hannibal grows by allowing him to plan ahead and allow himself to trust his teammates more than he ever has before.
And then Quentin Rampage Jackson fucking breaks a guy by dropping him on his neck. It's so cool. He goes through the transformation of choosing to be nonviolent, and then in the end, he's like, sometimes you do need to use violence against people who are using violence against others. And he does it in the most epic way imaginable by just body slamming a man to death. I forgot.
He pitied that fool.
Ooh, that's a good shot sequence where we reveal the tattoos on his hands, pity and fool. Oh my God, fucking loved it.
Yep, he's doing a Mr. T impression, but he's kind of doing his own thing as well. So, yeah, pretty well. And I will say, none of these movies are fantastic. None of them are the best action movie I've ever seen, but they make for a fun couple of movies to watch back to back.
Oh, I'm going to actually disagree with you a little bit on that one. I'm not going to say The A-Team is one of the best action movies ever made, but for me, it's an 8.5, maybe even a 9. I loved it that much, and watching it again, it just solidified how much I love that movie.
Well, there you have it. The A-Team is the winner in this action three-way. Any passing thoughts, Joey?
Patrick Wilson is really a great actor.
Yeah, especially in horror movies.
He fits in everything. Seeing him do this, I forgot he could be this guy too. He's great.
He is indeed.
That's my last thought on the matter.
Well, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Twinema Cinema. Please like and subscribe to all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitters, Instagrams, what have you. And also, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes and everything you can review us on. We like being liked.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Let's continue to work together to take down this pandemic, to bring ourselves to be able to interact in person again. We just have to be vigilant and careful. Thank you guys so much.
And get vaccinated.
Bye.